You're climbing Mount Everest, exhausted, freezing. Then you see her, a woman sitting in the snow, just sitting there. Her eyes are open. Her hair is blowing in the wind. She looks almost alive, but she's been dead for decades. Welcome to Everest's nightmare. This mountain doesn't just kill people, it keeps them. Forever. Like some twisted museum of broken dreams. I'm about to tell you about 3 women who conquered the world's tallest peak. They made it to the summit. They took their victory photos. They should have gone home as heroes. Instead, they became warnings. Hannelore from Germany, Shriya from Canada, Yasuko from Japan. 3 different women, 3 different decades, 3 completely avoidable deaths. But here's the thing. Each one teaches us something terrifying about what can go wrong up there, and some of these stories, they'll haunt you. Before we dive into the final chapters of these climbers, I just want to say this. I'm a small channel sharing powerful stories from the world's tallest mountains. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It really helps me reach my first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Let's start with Hannelore, 1979. A German woman with a crazy dream. Back then, Everest wasn't some tourist destination. No fancy guides, no oxygen stations every few hundred feet. You either knew what you were doing or you died trying. Hannelore wanted to be one of the first women to summit Everest. She wasn't some weekend warrior either. This woman had serious climbing experience. She'd conquered mountains across Europe. She was tough, ready for anything, or so she thought. The expedition was going well. Her team was strong. Weather looked decent. Everything seemed perfect for a successful climb. But here's what nobody tells you about Everest. Getting up is only half the battle. On October 2nd, 1979, Hannelore reaches the summit of Mount Everest. She's done it. Photos taken, victory achieved, time to go home and celebrate, right? Wrong. The descent starts normal. But then exhaustion hits her like a truck. We're talking about the death zone here, above 26,000 feet, where your body literally starts dying. Every step down should have been getting easier. Instead, it got harder. Just below the south summit, Hannelore makes a fatal decision. She sits down to rest. Just for a minute, she probably thought, I'll catch my breath and keep going. But at that altitude, your body shuts down fast. The cold creeps in. Your muscles stop working. Your brain gets fuzzy. What feels like a quick break becomes permanent. Hannelore never stood up again. She died right there, sitting in the snow, backpack still on, eyes open, facing the path down. But here's where it gets really disturbing. For years after, climbers would pass Hannelore's body. She became a landmark. Turn left at the dead German woman. That's literally how people gave directions. But it wasn't just her location that freaked people out. It was how she looked, still sitting upright, backpack perfectly positioned, eyes wide open like she was watching everyone walk by. The worst part? Her long hair. The wind would catch it and make it dance. From a distance, she looked alive. Climbers would approach thinking someone needed help, only to realize they were staring at a corpse. Some called her the German woman. Others just called her nightmare fuel. Hannelore made history she never wanted. First woman to die on Everest's summit route. But her death taught climbers something crucial. The summit isn't the finish line. It's barely the halfway point. Most people die on the way down, not up. Why? Because you're exhausted, running low on oxygen, and your guard's down. Attempts to recover her body killed more people. A Nepalese police officer died trying to bring her home. Eventually, they gave up. Too dangerous. Hannelore's frozen body became Everest's most haunting warning sign. Every climber who passed her learned the same lesson. This mountain doesn't care about your victory. It only cares about your mistakes. Fast forward to 2012. Everest had changed completely. What killed Hannelore in 1979 was experience meeting nature's fury. But our second story? This was about money meeting reality. Meet Shriya Shah-Klorfine. a Canadian climber with big dreams and a bigger bank account. By 2012, Everest had become a business. You could literally buy your way up the mountain. No experience required, just write the check. Shriya did exactly that. She picked a cheap guiding service, cut corners on training, figured her determination would make up for what she lacked in skill. Spoiler alert, mountains don't accept credit cards as payment for your mistakes. They demand something much more valuable. Shriya stood at the top of the world, literally. She had made it to the summit of Everest. Yes, but celebration quickly turned into a fight for her life. On May 19, 2012, more than 200 climbers pushed for the summit in a single day. A logjam in the death zone. That meant delays, traffic jams, and precious hours lost. Hours she didn't have. Shriya had already spent over 20 hours above 8,000 meters. Her body was shutting down. She collapsed just 250 meters from safety at Camp 4. Other climbers passed her on the narrow ridge, too exhausted to help. Guides were overwhelmed. Oxygen was running out. Her dream had come true, but it also became a death sentence. By the time her husband got the call, she was already gone, a still body on the world's highest bottleneck. Shriya wasn't a seasoned mountaineer. She was a dreamer, born in Nepal, raised in Canada, chasing the biggest goals she could imagine. But Everest doesn't care about dreams. Her guiding company was controversial, known for taking climbers who weren't ready. As she ignored warnings, she pushed forward anyway. And in the end, it wasn't just the mountain that failed her. It was the entire system. Crowded routes, poor planning, and blind ambition collided. Her body was draped in the Canadian flag and left on the mountain, a symbol not of triumph, but of how far the Everest dream had fallen. Shriya's death became a turning point in the Everest conversation. She wasn't the first inexperienced climber to die, but her story hit differently. It exposed the cracks in the booming Everest industry. Too many climbers, too few rules. Guiding companies chasing profits over safety. News outlets ran headlines about Everest turning into a zoo or a deadly tourist trap. Her tragic end wasn't just about one woman's mistake. It was about a system that let it happen. She became a cautionary tale, warning future climbers. Money can buy a permit, but it can't buy survival. If Shriya's death showed the dangers of inexperience, Yasuko Namba's story revealed something even more brutal. Sometimes, experience isn't enough. In 1996, long before Everest's social media boom, Yasuko was chasing her final summit in the legendary 7 Summits Challenge. She was 47, quiet, determined, and climbing with Rob Hall's respected expedition team. That spring, the mountain was crowded, but not chaotic, or so it seemed. Yasuko became the oldest woman to summit Everest at the time, but as history would soon show, in one of Everest's deadliest seasons, reaching the top wasn't the hardest part. Getting down was. On May 10, 1996, a brutal storm slammed into Everest just as multiple teams were descending. Visibility dropped, winds howled, and temperatures plummeted. Yasuko had made it to the summit, but the descent broke her. Exhausted, frostbitten, and barely conscious, she collapsed near Camp 4, just meters from shelter. Beck Weathers, another climber in her group, was also stranded nearby. Rescuers tried to reach them, but the storm was merciless. One by one, climbers were forced to leave the dying behind or risk dying themselves. Yasuko was alive the last time someone checked, but too far gone to save. She faded in the snow, surrounded by silence and swirling white. Later, Beck would describe waking up, half dead, and walking back alone. Yasuko didn't wake up. Her dream ended where so many others do. Not at the summit, but on the way home. Yasuko wasn't loud or flashy. She was quiet, disciplined, and focused. The kind of climber who let her actions speak. She'd already conquered 6 of the 7 summits. Everest was the final piece. But on that descent, her strength ran out. And in that storm, strength was everything. She was found lying in the snow, face caked in ice, eyes closed. Beck Weathers remembered her as motionless, already slipping away. Her husband never got to say goodbye. Her body was eventually returned to Japan, but her story stayed on Everest, a silent reminder of how close triumph and tragedy can be. Yasuko's death became part of one of the most infamous disasters in Everest history. Her story was immortalized in Jan Krakauer's Into Thin Air, and later portrayed in the film Everest. But beyond books and movies, her legacy is deeper. She wasn't reckless, she was prepared, and she still died. Her death reminded the world that even the most experienced climbers aren't safe on Everest. Nature doesn't care about your resume. Yasuko's life and death showed that Everest isn't a trophy, it's a test. And sometimes, even the strongest don't pass. 3 women, 3 dreams, 1 deadly mountain. Hannelore had the skill. Yasuko had the experience. Shriya had the passion. But Everest doesn't care who you are. It only takes what it wants. These weren't reckless thrill seekers. They were climbers chasing something bigger than themselves. And they paid the highest price. Their stories aren't just tragedies, they're warnings. Everest looks beautiful in photos, but up close, it's brutal, cold, unforgiving. For every flag planted at the top, there are bodies frozen along the way. Everest isn't just a mountain, it's a mirror, showing us exactly how far we're willing to go.